Hi everybody, I'm Helen James and I am thrilled to be here with the incredible Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe. I'm sure you know them, so I'm not going to give too much of an intro, but Sue, an incredible sort of athlete who was part of the women's, the WNBA, and Megan, who an incredible activist and a soccer player. I'm even saying soccer as a Brit, it's very weird for me, so you have to bear with me.
Converted you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're going to jump straight in. I'm going to start with some stats. So in the US and most of Europe, men are more likely than women to watch women's sports. And relatedly, and I can only find a UK stat, but 9 out of 10 British men who watch women's sports are much more connected to women's issues, women's rights, feminism, and those sort of themes. For me, I think that shows there's real connection between the visibility of women's sports and then the need to keep progressing sort of women's rights and women's movements and sort of broader social and economic equality. I wanted to come to you, Megan, and talk a little bit about sort of, do you think that women's sports can be a powerful lever for social change?
I think it is a powerful lever. It took me a second. I was like, lever? Oh, lever. I think it's one of the most powerful mechanisms that we have for equality. I think having women's athletes be able to compete as their full selves and to have that relationship with their other teammates, that sort of empowerment. And so often when women are in positions of power, it's usually one of them, maybe, or, very few. And we're lucky to play a team sport where we can kind of draft off each other. And I think for us, people always say, what is it about women's sports and activism? But it's just like it's us, it's women. So we're going to talk about women's issues. We're going to talk about reproductive rights. We're going to talk about, the LGBTQ community. We're going to talk about everything that really exists in all of our sports. So for me, it's, I think, this amazing gift that we have to be able to do something that we love, but also, try to make the world a better place while we're doing it.
Yeah, you're so right. And I think that thing about being the one woman sort of having to lead the charge, I think I experienced that in sort of working life as well. So it's so true. Sue, it's a very big day for you today with your documentary dropping on Amazon Prime. So very exciting. Thank you for being here for us. It's such an incredible story, and I think it's had real sort of impact and really sort of shown that social change again can come. For anyone that doesn't know, it's sort of a sports league of women who impacted politics and getting a Senate seat switched after the senator at the time said she didn't want any reference to Black Lives Matter. So an incredibly powerful story. What do you think our society can learn from sports and specifically from women's sports?
Yeah, well, actually, to piggyback off what Megan was saying, what's interesting about my experience is we would have loved, the players of the WNBA would have loved to talk about basketball. We would have loved to have been, talking about our jump shots and who won last night, but society really hasn't let us just be basketball players. We're judged based on everything else. Who we want to date, the color of our skin, you name it. And so I think over time, we all have really leaned in to that. And what you've gotten is a league full of very dynamic, multidimensional women. Mm-hmm. And so what happened in this particular moment, and I think what you can learn from this documentary is when you have a group like that, I'll start by saying, it doesn't mean you're always agreeing, right? The values are there. We're aligned on a value, but strategy, all those things, doesn't mean you're always agreeing on how you're gonna go about something. But in that particular moment, we were able to figure out a way to defend ourselves, stand up for ourselves, stand up for what we believed in. It was during the pandemic. This all happened when we were in a bubble, right? So they took us to Florida. They wouldn't let us leave. Obviously COVID was running rampant. So it was a really unique experience, a really unique time. And we found a way to, again, stand up for ourselves, stand up for our values, and fight back against someone who was telling us to shut up and dribble.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting that being connected at a values level, but then having, as you say, different approaches and strategies. Do you think that makes you more powerful and it makes it more impressive?
Absolutely. I think it's the reason why you want diversity in the room, whatever room that is. You always want that because there's certain things that Megan's going to see that I might not. It doesn't mean better or worse. It's just she has her experience. She's bringing all of her to the table, and she might see something that I might not see, and vice versa. Yeah. And that's where you get the good stuff, right? In the collaboration of it all. And that's what happened. Again, the documentary will show just a wonderful story of strategy, collaboration. Honestly, that's how women do it. We come together, we like community, and we get stuff done.
Yeah, no, so true. I can't wait to watch it. We're going to talk a little bit about pay now and the pay gap, and I'm sure you talk about this a lot. So despite so many gains on and off the field, female athletes are still paid only 83 cents on the dollar. And I think for women of colour, that's even worse. I think it's 68 cents on the dollar. So Megan, obviously, this has been a big part of your life, and you led a successful campaign to get pay equity in US soccer. Do you think, and I work for one of the only advertising agencies that has pay equity and is pay equity certified, so this is personally really important to us and our business and to me. Do you think more can be done, and what do you think employers specifically can do to help accelerate this change and speed it up?
I mean, I certainly think more can be done because the gap still exists. I think it has to really start from the leadership, from the top down. I mean, you can, of course, have an uprising in your employee base. That's what happened with us, but it would have happened a long time ago if, the sort of leaders of our federation and the board and everybody got on board sooner. But I think from an organizational standpoint, like the more the people in charge care about it and actually put effort towards it and make it a priority, I think the quicker it can go. And then from there, to Sue's point, the collaboration on down the line. I think it's understandable that it's not going to be solved overnight, but I think there's a lot that can be done. There's, equal pay software platforms. I work with a company called Juzaic that can sort of do an internal audit. And then I think even just from, a base level of like, yes, I see this is happening. We want to change it. Getting the feedback from your employee base and really making it a point of emphasis for your company. And then I think also just kind of keeping the pressure on, whether it's athletes or women in business, whatever it may be. I think just continue, unfortunately, as you said, we would love to be doing something else, I would have loved to not have a lawsuit in the middle of a World Cup, but like such is life. So,
but
I think
is that hard personally then? Because that energy, that
it is
desire to keep the fight, keep
it's
fighting,
exhausting.
it's a lot.
Yeah. No, it's totally exhausting. And then to, sort of have the narrative flip back of, oh, you're complaining. I'm just like, I don't want to talk about this either, but it's happening.
I
and
just
you're
want to
doing,
get on with the thing I
would love to
yeah.
just, play. But I think just, whether it's media or players continuing to talk about and continuing to draw attention to the disparities and the inequities is really important. And then from a brand perspective, I think, we had a lot of sponsors ask us, like, what can we do? And a lot of sponsors actually went to the Federation and either pulled out of their sponsorship or said, if we can't sponsor just the women's team, then we don't want to sponsor. So generally, I think money talks always.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, whether that's investing in women's sports or, spending dollars on athletes or leagues, but for everybody to sort of use their voice in whatever way that they can.
Yeah, I was going to come on to talk a little bit about sponsorship, and given we're here at Sports Beach with so many brands, the sort of sponsoring of women's sports has actually shown to drive 70% more favourability in terms of brands. So there is a business reason, a business case to actually invest here. What do you think, and you talked a little bit about this, but what do you think can be done in order to, again, accelerate that change and make sure we're keeping to drive this? Because it feels like it can sometimes just dip down. It's like, oh shit, we need to remember this thing again. Like, how do you both sort of engage with that and interact with that?
Well, obviously, brand sponsorships are so important to the ecosystem, right? For me, the way I look at it, they're the ones that are changing culture in a lot of ways. They're the ones that are driving. They're the ones that are helping others inform their opinion. So it's just really important. I mean, to be honest, the answer to your question is the trajectory we're on is good. Right? It's not like something big and dramatic needs to get, like, no lightning rod's going to come in and change it all. It's on a really good trajectory. I would just say, to your point, don't let the lulls happen. Yeah. Like, look at this not as a one-time charitable contribution where, like, I gave my money, I did my part, I'm out. Look at it as a relationship. Look at it like a business investment. To your point, there's all kinds of data and stats now about how when you partner with a female athlete, you're going to see a return. And that's because we are dynamic. We've had to be. We've just covered all of that. And the people that are fans of us, they're loyal. Yeah. They're engaged. And that's why you see, I think on the other side for brands, why you see that return. Yeah. So they just have to continue to do it and look at it for the business that it is, not just the quote-unquote right thing to do.
Doing it for DEI purposes. No, exactly. And do you think there are lessons or sort of tangible actions that, what would you ask a brand to do to just those small things that can make a difference? I heard Mary Epps talk yesterday, and she was talking about it's just asking the question about sort of making sure there are female, crew and staff on shoots and stuff. It's just making brands aware of that. Like, what are the other actionable things you think that can be taken away and can be applied, Megan?
I mean, there's so many things from, it's like you're on a photo shoot, and is there representation there? Is there representation when the brand deck is being made? How are you marketing female athletes? It's like, we play sports, and men play sports, but we need to be talked about in a different way. And, our engagement's going to be different, and the story around it's going to be different. So even just little things like that, I feel like are really important to tell the right story, because people love sports, like, period. That, sports are engaging. You get to see people out on the field or on the court literally like risking it all and putting their full selves out there. And I think through sport you can really tell a rich story that will keep people coming back. Brands, when they tell a really, if you just kind of put someone up there and don't really tell anything about them, like, people might see it or they might not, but if the consumer can engage with the brand, engage with the athlete, whether it's through a campaign or whatever it may be, I feel like that's when you start getting people coming back. That's when the brands really start to see the returns. Sue was saying, female athletes are so dynamic, in part because we've had to. So let's use that to our advantage and continue to grow the sport and grow the environment around brands and sponsoring female athletes.
Brilliant. Love it. Megan, one last quick question, and you're probably going to be asked this a lot. There's a big European Championship happening at the moment.
I know.
Who's your money on?
Oh gosh.
She's actually been devastated because we've been so busy. We haven't been able to watch the games. Yeah. So we tried one night. We were on Canal Plus, like, trying to find
out. Yeah.
It's the grind out here.
I know. It's like, is it coming home? I don't know.
Watch as much.
If I'm a glutton for punishment, I'd probably say England. Is it coming? It's.
Yeah.
I hope so. You guys have so much just
we really
heartache
want it, don't we? Yeah.
with it. The French side are like insanely talented. Yeah. They're always right up there. Germany has incredible uniforms, and they're just their whole branding package around it. Sorry, Nike, they're Adidas, but hopefully I just get to catch a couple of the games.
Well, the next England match is Thursday, so hopefully you'll get time to do that.
We'll be on a plane.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it'll be on. I know. I'm gonna get home and watch the knockout rounds.
Yeah, exactly. No one can speak to you and tell you, and then you can watch it when you get home.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. This has been a fantastic opportunity. So thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.